I finally had the courage to tell my story about it because it was something that I was ashamed of at first, but I had to again give myself grace and realize it wasn't my fault. I didn't know, honestly. So once I had the courage to tell my story, the next thing was we're doing a book, and it is based on my life, even though the characters are not the real characters, but it is based or inspired by my story, which again, me telling the story is another form of therapy for me. So once I got the story out and I actually listened to it again, I was like, wow, I can see why I did those things. And honestly, people were like, "Oh, I know you couldn't stand him and you glad he's gone blah." And yes, at that time, he needed to be out of my life because I did not need that. But honestly, as I was telling the story and I looked at it from an outsider view, I kind of felt sympathetic because when someone's battling an addiction, the outside person has no idea what's going on inside. So I thought about it and I was like, I'm pretty sure he did not intend to wake up and say, I'm going to be a crackhead. It was probably a battle, just like the battles I had in my head when I was going through depression. I'm pretty sure he was going through something similar. So I actually had compassion for him, and honestly, I do pray and hope that he did get the help that he needed.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that he went into rehab like he said he was going to do. So I actually wish him well. I do hope that he's doing well. I hope, first of all, I hope he's alive. And then if he is, I do hope that he got the help that he needed. So I'm not upset. I'm not mad. I'm not embarrassed about everything because going back, everything happens for a reason. So, and who knows, maybe that reason was for me to tell my story so that it can help someone else heal that was in a similar situation. So I do know people that were in a similar situation that I had no idea that they were in it. So
Tell me more about that. So you had people who went through these situations too?
yeah, surprisingly, people private messaged me and said, I thank you for your courage to tell your story because I was in a similar situation. And they did tell me one was actually married to someone, and she said that he prayed and asked God to send him a woman that could get him off of the drugs. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So he was looking to you as your like deliverer or to deliver them from the drugs, but it didn't work.
Oh, so I was going to say, do you think that's even healthy
No,
for a man to be like, can you get me off the drugs and use a woman for it?
not at all. It's one thing to be with someone and let's say throughout their relationship the person gets addicted to drugs, and because of the love some people are saying I'm going to love you through this addiction kind of thing, but for someone to actually say send me another human being to deliver me from this addiction, I don't think that was healthy at all.
I
I
think that
think I do too, and I think that the person should have prayed and asked God not to send him a woman to get him off the addiction, but to send him the resources or the help that he needed to basically be honest with God. God, I don't want to be on drugs anymore. Lord, please deliver me from this addiction. That kind of thing. And I believe that God would have opened up the doors for him to get the help, because my thing is, and that's with anything really in life, all truth being parallel, you can't rely on someone else to get you out of your mess. You have to get out of your mess yourself. You get that out of yourself before you can move on to something else. Close one chapter before you open up another.
right.
You know,
And with closing chapters, my last question for you is, how do you think that all of this has shaped you to be the woman you are now?
it definitely has shaped me to be a more positive thinker. Um, I do not let I'm not going to say negative thoughts don't come across my mind because they do, but I don't let it consume me. So I'm the kind of person where I see the vision. I always pray. I ask God to direct my path, make it intentional, let me see the glory in all that I do, and let it be for the glory of God. So I feel like it's definitely made me stronger. Back then, people were like, oh, you're so strong when I was going through the grief, but I didn't see it then. But now I'm like, yes, things that would have normally upset me back then, it doesn't affect me anymore because I'm like, you know what? Life is too short. You need to cherish the people that are in your circle while you can. Never take for granted that there's always going to be a tomorrow because you never know. And don't assume that death is a respective person. People assume that death only affects old people. As we see, my daughter was 23. So cherish people, love them while you can, protect your peace. That's the main thing. That's what I'm standing on right now. If it doesn't bring me peace, I don't want it. I don't care. If I gotta struggle and force something, I shouldn't have to force someone to tolerate me. And we can even put this in a job perspective. I shouldn't force my supervisor to, I'm not saying that what's going on with me now on my job.
Oh, like, don't fire her.
Right. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to force you to like me because one, I'm here to do a job.
Right.
So as long as my work is good, we're good. But I don't have to be friends with my coworkers. Actually, you shouldn't be friends with your coworkers. But
I'm best friends.
there are exceptions because honestly, I do have friends that we used to work together first and we still keep in contact. Even though we don't work at the job anymore, we still keep in contact. So I'm not saying that, but don't go in expecting to make friends.
Right.
Because take it from me, years of experience. People that laugh and grin in your face don't always have your best interest.
And you can also use another example is you can't force anyone to love you. I learned that from a situationship. I couldn't force him to love me. I loved him, but he didn't love me. So you can't force him to love you.
You cannot. And if it's meant to be, it's going to be. You shouldn't have to force it because in some of my other relationships that I talked about before I got into the whole relationship with the crackhead, the relationship before that, did everything I could. I was like, if he sees that I'm faithful, I'm devoted, that I'm always available for him, that he will see that I love him and he'll love me back. And that wasn't the case. I was left giving but not being fulfilled.
Sometimes it's fun to be in delusional land, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's low-key fun. But I understand. I completely understand.